Morning everybody, this is Phil Beckwith, the professional painter and decorator. Now it's that season where we're all going to be painting outsides and I'm no exception. It's a bit of a busman's holiday and I'm working at the Beckwith house and I'm painting my outside. And you're going to say to me, Phil, can you tell us a few tips and tricks and products that you're using? So that's what I'm going to do. I've got I'll call them smooth rendered walls that will be painted. I'm going to tell you about the paint that I'm going to be trying and using. I'm going to be telling you a few ways of doing things that I've done, painting fascias and under eaves. And if you don't know how to paint the fascias and under eaves, I'm going to be telling you how to do it. So I'm going to swivel the camera around and we'll have a look at a few products and I'll just talk you through of what I've done already, what I'm planning on doing, and I will show you a little bit of the, day in the life of a painter and decorator working on a weekend. Right, so first off, let's just talk about the masonry paint that I'm going to be using. Now, I managed to get this paint through Andura. This is Andura down near Bicester. Now, they do specialist coatings and I get on well with Paul. Andura is also the other company of H&G, Hanford and Green. Now, I asked if they could do me a colour which is as near as damn it, and I'm going to tell you about the colours, near as damn it as County Cream on a Dulux colour card. Now, their colour off their colour card is actually called Biscuit. Now, it's not really County Cream, it's a slight biscuity colour, but I'm not too worried because what I'm planning on doing on painting the outside of my house that was originally in County Cream, I'm going to try a few different paints out to see what they're actually like, and it doesn't matter if I do one side in one colour that's slightly different to another. So that's what I'm going to be using. Now, the MasterDec is just your typical, I'm going to say typical, it is a specialist coating, it's water based. If you read the spec sheet, it dries quite quickly, it's got a slight flexibility to hold off slight cracks. Don't get carried away with big cracks, but it is a universal paint for really anybody to use. So just quickly on this product, as I said, it's got a W on it, which means it's water based. The spec sheet says it's low dirt pickup, excellent resistance to weathering, excellent breathability, and it's even accommodates cracks and recovery properties even at extreme temperatures, ambient temperatures. So that's one of the reasons I'm going to be using this, just to try it out. If you want to know more about that, there is I'll do a link below on the Andura product down in the description, and also give you a link to their website. But that's that. Right, there is also a primer, which is an oil-based primer for if you've got any repairs, cracks that you've probably raked out and filled, and you might just want to touch them over with the masonry primer. Well, you can see it's got an off-white and it's even got my name on it, which, how good's that? I feel very, very special. So what I'm planning on doing, where I've got some little cracks that are filled, and we'll come on to that in a minute, I will be letting the filler dry for 24 hours just to make sure it is properly dry, and I will be touching in with some of this masonry primer, and then when that's dry again I will be coming back and then we'll be coating up with the masonry paint. Right, the other things I just want to touch on, my outside had got a little bit of lichen, so I popped down to Paintwell and picked up some Dulux multi-surface fungicidal wash. Now, this kills algae and mold growth. I don't want to go on about this too much, but because I've got those areas, I've clean those areas down. I've actually put this solution on. Now, it says don't spray it, put it on with a brush, put plenty on, let it soak, let it do its thing, give it 24 hours, then come back the next day and wash it off. And that's what I've actually done today. This all went on yesterday. I've washed it off this morning. I've got a sweeping brush to actually scrub it over the surface and literally hosed it down because I'm at home, so I've got a hose pipe out. This is ready to use and it has done what it said it needed to do. You give it the 24 hours to actually do its thing, to kill any of the algae and the mold growth off, and it's done that. To be fair, I wasn't particularly heavy actually on the mold growth. It was more of a dirt, and you could see the spores coming. So that's what I've used to kill and get rid of any mold spores. And when I walk around the house, I'll just show you where I've used it. So that's that. Right, we're going to come on to the cracks now. You know what I like. I'm going to zoom across to here. PeelStop. I've raked out any cracks, cleaned them all out with a duster brush just to get rid of anything that was a little bit powdery and flaky, because I don't want to be coating up anything that's already got sediment behind it, i.e. bits of sand from the render. And then I've just brushed over every crack that was opened out with some of the PeelStop. Now this is not PVA, it is something that you can use outside, whereas PVA you can't. Now this will bind your chalky substrates. It's very much like a stabilising solution, but I've not used it as a stabilising solution. It's more of a case of, well, sealing and filling and priming those cracks that have opened out. So that's what I've done with that. And you're going to say, Phil, what filler have you used to fill these cracks? Right, I'm zipping over to here because originally I was planning on using that, but I got a sample pot of, let's twist that there, I got a sample pot of this from Prestonett, where my local rep is Brian, and he says, Phil, I know you've got some cracks on your house because I've spoke to him before about it, and he says, try this. Now this is a flexible crack filler. I'm just telling you stuff that's already on the front of the pot. It's a flexible crack filler. It's ready made, it's ready mixed. Let's get the lid open. But I don't know whether you can see, if I zoom in close, I don't know, it has little fibres in it. Let's get away. It has little fibres in it. So what I did yesterday, once all that PeelStop had dried, it well after a couple of hours, I went round first filling with this. Now the cracks aren't big, they're not wide, but sometimes they can go a little bit deep. Now it says that this product is ideal for, right, it's interior and exterior. Can you just see it there? I don't know whether you can. 3mm thickness and allow 24 hours to dry. Now some cracks were a little bit deeper and I've allowed it to dry, and it has set up nicely, and I will be going over again to second fill with that today. Now once that's dry, if it needs a third fill, I will do. I've got time, I've got the patience that I can actually give it time to actually build it up. I know I could have used this, but I wanted to try this. I know that's really good. I don't know what this is like, but I'm going to give it a go, because the cracks on my house are things that I can't fix, because I just would want to say the plasterer render that did the house originally didn't put any scrim on the new build to the old build, so I get historic crack movement between the two parts of the house, the old and the new, and it doesn't matter what I do, it still comes back. So we're going to be trying this. If you can just see what it says there, it's highly flexible and excellent surface adhesion, fibre reinforced for moving cracks. I don't think it'll hold off the cracks that I've got, but it will hold it off for a period of time. And it says no fibre tape or fabric required, and it's the Bessiere. You know, I've used the Bessiere products before. So let's see how this goes. It does say filling capacity 3mm, but what I've done, I've just built it up, and I will be giving it another coat today. So that's that. Anything else I want to say? Yeah, I got some, those that know, those that don't, I'm going to tell you, Red Oxide, it's a metal primer. I'd got some galvanised strips on the corner of the house of the rendering, which had actually festered and just started to show with a bit of rust. Now, you can see how old this tin is. We've got this in our workshop. There's a gnat full in the bottom. I've used a cheap brush, you see there. I've used a cheap brush, and I've just touched in any of the metal rust. I cleaned it down, just gave it a bit of a scrape and a little light sand, dusted it off, and then put some Red Oxide metal primer on those areas that were rusting. So that was again done yesterday. They're dry today, so when I come to actually paint with my masonry, they won't be showing through as rust. So always bear in mind that if you have got any rust anywhere, get some metal primer on it. Various companies do metal primer, and don't forget there's a difference between ferrous and non-ferrous. One rusts and one doesn't, but I'd got rusty surfaces, so I wanted something that was suitable for rust. So that's the difference, ferrous and non-ferrous. One rusts and one doesn't, but there you go. It's an old tin that'll probably go in the bin Right, that's that done. Right, my last thing, which is the main thing that I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to be showing you how to paint the fascias and under eaves. I've already started and I'm giving this a go. Right, I don't know whether we've lost it. There you go. The Albany MasterDec, and it's the premium, can you see? Premium opaque satin wood finish. Now, I have been trialing this for the last few months. I got a little sample tin from Brewers of Nottingham. My manageress down there, Sally, she's brilliant. She says, try this. It's a new product that's we're trying to promote, and I was so impressed with it. I bought more tins of it and I'm using it on my outside. You're going to say, Phil, what is it? It's an opaque finish. It's water-based. It's a satin finish, which I prefer on outsides, if I'm honest. I'm going to just drop down to where the wording is. It's for long-lasting exterior protection. It's self-priming and undercoating, and it's a highly flexible finish. Now, Albany MasterDec is, I'm going to say, in competition. It might not be word of competition, but it is pitching itself against SuperDec. Now, we all know how expensive SuperDec is. It's a very good product, and I just brought this tin from our workshop because we've had this a while. I brought this just to show you what a SuperDec tin looks like, and this is MasterDec. I think this MasterDec is fantastic. The opacity is second to none. Clearly black's going to be a good one anyway, but if you've used some other products that have been black and are a little bit thin and watery, don't think that this is. It's thick, it goes on nicely, and the price is very attractive. So what I'm going to be doing, my fascia boards are going to be in black. My under eaves, which I've managed to get it mixed up as near as I can, county cream, are actually the county cream colour to match, I'm going to say, my walls. But when you see the difference between biscuit and county cream, you'll go, yeah, there is a slight difference. But just, you can see, if you don't know what microporous means, there, it means it allows your wood surface to breathe through it. So this is why I want to use this. It's ideal outside. If you've got areas that are fascia boards and under eaves, barge boards, the apexes, hard to reach areas, and you just want to go up, get it coated up and come back down after a light sand, this is the sort of product that you would probably say is ideal for you. And I have to say the finish is lovely, and I will show you what that's like in a few moments. So let's just talk about what brush I'm going to use. Right, brushes. Yesterday to get the paint on, I just got a lick brush. Oh, sorry, just move my camera. I got a lick brush that I'd got because I was only doing the under eaves on certain areas. That was nice, it put plenty of paint on. What I found is, because of the long handle there, I was struggling to get the back edge of the fascia boards painted because the long handle actually was catching the wall. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to drop down, again, this is a 2.5 inch. It didn't matter whether it was a slash cut or not, you're just getting the paint on. I'm going to drop down today. I've got a 2.5 inch Arrowworthy Classic. You can clearly see the handle's a bit shorter, so I'm hoping I can get in to the areas that I struggled with yesterday a lot easier using that. So what else do I need to tell you about? Sandpaper, I'll show you some. I don't know whether you've seen this before. It's a Klingspor, and this is a P80. Now the P means it's a flexible sandpaper. I fold it over into half. Some people will fold over into thirds. It doesn't matter. I like to use one side and then I'll reverse round to another. So one side then the other. If it starts wearing on the edge, it doesn't matter because I will then rip it and then half it again on that. But that is an 18, it's worn down, but I have got some new with me that is 120, and I would probably say that that 80 worn down is more like a 120, and that's all you really need is a 120 for rubbing down your fascia boards and under eaves, particularly if they're in not bad condition. If they are very rough and daubed up with paint, you might want to go to something more like an 80 or a 60, just depending. Use your common sense on that. Right, we're talking about where I got a little bit early, and what a beautiful sky we've got today. I'm going to point it out to you. my finger's going up there, top of the chimney stack, it was just coming down off the chimney. So I've had our big ladder up, I soaked in with the fungicidal wash and then scrubbed it over with a brush and then washed it down and brushed it again with a brush today to get it off. I'm sorry, we've got a lovely sky. Can we see it a bit better if I do that? Yeah, so that's up there. This is our big ladder. What is it? A double 15, I believe. 15 runner without counting. I think it's 15 run. While I'm on this side of the house, I'll come round. I'll just show you the cracks. Now, I'm hoping if I bring the camera down, you can see that crack there. Can you see where it's white? This is what I actually raked out. Can you see this? I raked it out, just got a putty knife on it, got it as wide as I can, dusted it out with a duster brush, PeelStopped it. That's where you can see that little bit of a shine from the previous paint to that, and then I've filled it with that Prestonett exterior filler that's got the fibres in it. You can just see, can you see it's just sunk slightly? So today, later on, I will give it another fill to try and bring it up to the surface. Once you've actually got it on and it's all dry, you can lightly sand that area prior to painting, which I will sand, and then I will just brush a small amount just down these edges of, well, just down where the filler is, of that primer prior to me actually going to be painting the actual walls. Okay, so I've just moved around to the front of the house and I'm just going to go up a pair of steps just to show you what I'm doing. I could go up the other ladder to go up to the top of the fascia board, but I thought it might be easier to work at a bit more lower ground level. So I'm going to swivel the camera around and let's have a look. Right, so here we are. Fascia board, we've got plastic gutters, we've got fascia board, and we've got under eaves. Now, this I have already rubbed down, and the areas up at the top I've actually painted one coat on the under eave area. So what I just want to show you is when you come to these sorts of things, this is a bit of a tongue and groove boarding. Now, show it sandpaper. Literally, you don't have to go too mad. You want to get a scratch on it to get a key for your actual paint to adhere to it. Now, there's some paints that don't need really any preparation and sanding, but it's always good to give a sand down like this with some sandpaper. This is just demo purposes. I'm not going to town on it. I'm not left-handed and I find it very difficult to do it. So that's that. And then what we do is, let me get my duster brush out. Then you dust these all off. Now, I've left some cobwebs just on the wall area there because as you come round these sorts of things, you can dust off your wall at the same time. Now, that's what I've been doing all the way around the house. And if you can just see, these had opened up some cracks and I've filled those with an exterior interior caulk, which, you know which caulk I like. I've never had any problems with this. It's the OneTime, let's remove that. It's the OneTime RedDevil, and it's excellent joint movement capability. It's interior, exterior, it's clean up with water, but I've just corked it in there and just wiped it over with a damp finger. That's all it is. So what you're going to do, you're going to be rubbing down these under eaves. Done, check. Dusted it all off, check. I've actually caulked it, check. Now your fascia board, which there's not much area here because you've got the actual gutter in there. This is the same principle. Put my duster brush under my arm. Right, get your fingers up as far as you possibly can. Rub down all the way up to the top. Come across the bottom there, and don't forget that back edge. Rub that back edge like that, because that back edge will be painted. Rubbing a bit of dust off. That back edge will be painted with your under eave colour. So you'll paint that and you'll paint that back edge there, and then when you come to the face, which will be black, you just neatly cut that bottom edge in there and paint that, going up as far as you possibly can, cutting in neatly to where the brackets are of the gutters. See that? And don't forget, dust it off. Now, if you've got really dirty, well, I'm just getting a duster brush all the way up. If you've got really dirty under eaves and fascias, mine aren't particularly too bad, go around with some sugar soap, some cleaning solution, some warm water, and wipe them down with a sponge. These aren't bad. This has just got a little bit of surface residue on. I'm not too worried about that, because when I go around with my water-based paint, that will slightly soften it up anyway and clean it down for me, won't it? No, I'm joking about that. It's not too bad. Just rub it down, dust it off. Coming around here, get round all your brackets, and away you go. And this is what I'm going to be doing, is painting all that there. I will show you painting it when it's dry. That MasterDec from Albany is 4 hours recoat time. Once your 4 hours is up, or it might be a bit quicker depending on your weather conditions, you can then actually give it its second coat. Once that's all done, you can actually start with your black. So the process of doing your fascias and under eaves, do your under eaves first, doing that back edge across there, and then finish off with your, well, in my case, black on these fascias. Right, you can see where I've got the ladder up. This isn't a particularly high ladder, it's a double ladder. I'm working off gravel, just be very careful. I've moved the gravel out the way, and I can easily reach that up there. Now the fascia board needs doing, and I need a second coat on the under eave. I don't know if you can see it, it's quite a long way away up there. I will try and zoom in for you up there. You see it all the way around there. I'll just bring you down to where I've actually got some, I put some of the aluminium, well sorry, aluminium. This is where I've actually put some red oxide on where the rust was, and that's now perfectly dry. A little bit of filling on that corner, but that's that. Right, let's talk about colour. Now this here is clearly faded. This is Dulux Trade Weathershield, which was done about 2016, so we're probably looking at 7-8 years ago from memory. Now I've still got some of this paint, and that is it. Can you see the difference? So that is really faded, and that's the same paint, which is what, 8 years old, and look at the colour difference. That is County Cream in Dulux Trade. Now the Andura paint, the MasonryGard, can you see the difference? That's classed as biscuit. Clearly there's two different colours. I quite like that. Look at the difference. You see that there? That's a good angle to see it. County Cream, biscuit, County Cream originally, really faded. And this is why I'm doing the outside now. I will be giving the front of the house, and hopefully the side, if I've got enough paint, 2 coats of this. Will anybody notice a difference? I don't think so. Right, this is a side of the house that I did earlier on this year. Now, I had scaffolding up because we had a problem with the chimney stack. So while the scaffold was up, I've actually painted this side of the house 2 coats of that original Dulux Trade Weathershield in County Cream. Now, this looks so much fresher than the, if we can track me over here, the side of the house there that is very faded. That doesn't matter. I've got angles. I can lose different colours from one side of the house to another. So all being well, nobody will notice that this is a different colour to the front. And if anybody's watching and you're saying, Phil, what are you doing with these bits down there? Can you see me? These bits down there, I will probably try a different paint and see if I can get it mixed up in Dulux County Cream, and see if we can do a different brand of paint on these areas here. So that'll be an interesting one. I will see in a bit when we get a bit of paint out for that under eave and fascia. Right, so all being well, I'm hoping that I can do this one-handed and paint one-handed, filming as well. I've got a proper kettle, I've got the paint in there, I'm working from one side of the kettle. Professional painters will know you don't do double slapping like that. You work from one side of the kettle, keeping the opposite side clean, because that is then an opposite side. Can you see that? That's an opposite side that you can use for another day. Now, I don't want anybody saying, oh, you got loads of paint in this kettle. This is one of the ones that I use for my demoing, so it doesn't get burnt out very often. But you can see what I'm doing. I'm working from one side of the kettle. Those that don't work from one side of the kettle seem to get the paint handle, the paint brush handle covered in paint. They're getting the ferrule, which is that part there, covered in paint, and the hands are covered in paint. Now, I, as a professional, as Ali G would say, and I don't get my ferrules covered in paint. I don't need to do the amateur thing of taping it up, because I can't see any point you needing to do that if you know what you're doing. And my handles are pretty clean. So yeah, I've had me like dig at people that put tape round stuff. Never mind. Right, we're going up. I've just bedded my brush in. It will bed in. Sorry, I've just bedded my brush in. It will bed in as I'm going along as well. I'm coming up. These are medium steps, so it's not a little step I'm working off. I'm going to say to you, I'm painting this, but I'm just going to go slightly onto the wall, because when I come to do the wall, I will be able to cut up to there and not worry about have I missed any. So for the purpose of the video, I'm just going to start midway through, and I'm just, can you see, I'm just going onto that wall. I'm cutting up to where the UPVC is. It's a lovely brush, this is, it's a soft brush, and I'm bringing a stretch along at a time. That's that. Loading up. I'm loading up with paint. One, and this is where I go it really quick, do it really quickly. I'm dabbing paint on one side of the bristle there, but then it flips over, so I get it on both sides, picking up a little bit at a time. See how quick I'm doing that? I'm over exaggerating it for the purpose of the video, but that's where we are. So we're at it again. I'm cutting up against there, brushing it out. Now, this was all dusted off yesterday. I'm getting it on and I'm laying it off. See that? Next bit of paint coming in. Cutting in nicely there. Bringing it across. Hope you can hear me all right, because we've got a bit of road noise about. So bringing this section. You can see a few little bits coming in. I've picked up along the way. Outsides are notorious for getting bits here, there and everywhere. Don't worry. If it really bothers you that much that there might be a little bit of something on your surface, you can nib down with something like a Gold Flex Merca pad. But there we are with that. I'm going to just show you here, if we can do that. I'm painting that back edge all the way, and it doesn't matter if you go onto the black there. Paint it in, you can see that. It's very difficult holding it with a brush in my hand, painting and filming, but that's that back edge done. We'll come along here. I could do with a cameraman. I have to say the finish of this satin is really nice. There's just enough sheen to it to see that you've actually put something on. Just do this back edge again. Got to be really careful, because there's a few mechanical nails from a joiner's nail gun that's gone in, and it does protrude beyond the angle. And if you get paint on it, you see what I'm doing. If you get paint on it, it drips on you. So that's that there. You're getting the idea. Bringing these tongue and grooves all the way along. Not messing about with it. Just get it on its water based. Put it on in a bit of a crisscross fashion, then just lay it off. Cutting in neatly. I've got a bit of cloth in my pocket in case I do catch any of the window. I can actually feel it drying off on me. It's quite a nice day today in the UK. I'm coming up. Now, anybody who's used SuperDec knows how good it is. And I would say to you, if you've used SuperDec, have you tried this MasterDec, because I think you'll be very impressed with it like I am. Right, I'm going to leave it at that now because I'm going to finish off and I will come back when we come to do the black. But so far, so good. And anybody saying, oh, these look a bit ropey. Do you know what? This house dates 1911, so there is a lot of paint on this original under eave, which I'm adding to. Right, so we're coming in with the black now. I'm going to get this out. I've got the under eaves all nicely dried off. It says about 4 hours recoat time now because I did those yesterday. The second coat's gone on well this morning, and a couple of hours later it's dry enough that that little edge of the fascia board that might have been caught with the under eave has actually dried off nicely. So we're going in with the Albany MasterDec. This is the premium opaque satin wood finish. As I said earlier, long-lasting exterior protection, self-priming and undercoating, highly flexible finish. So if you want to just have a quick gander on the back, it's for external use. Exterior, there's your coverage. I said earlier, wash with water, brilliant. And 4 hours recoat time. All the blurbs there. And what I'm going to do is get some out now and start getting the first coat on the fascia boards in black. Now, because the fascia boards are very shallow, i.e. there's not much to them, they're only a couple of inch deep because of that gutter that's on it. I'm going with, can you see, I've got a Monarch brush. It's 1.5 inches. That'll get at the back, can you see, that'll get at the back of the actual gutter quite nicely, and that soft bristle will lay off this paint beautifully. 1.5 inches for those that are more continental, 38mm. So yeah, what I'm going to do, get a bit of paint out, get it on, and I'll come back to you and show you a bit of painting from where I was before. Okay, so we're back up the steps and I've told you what paint we're using and I'm ready to do some fascia board. I'll swivel the camera around and I'll try and show you best I can. I've got a brush in one hand and a camera in the other. I'll show you best I can the way to do the fascias, cutting in and actually just laying it off. So let's do a 1, 2, 3 and swivel around. As easy as that. Hopefully you can see this, and as I say, I'm one-handed. Now I'm just a little bit of paint on the brush and I'm painting this underside of the fascia just there, and I'm letting it just cut up to that last final edge. I hope you can see that on camera all right. Just that last final edge. I'll try and, so I'm gently, and I'm doing it slowly so you can see it, I'm gently using the tips of the bristles and going across that back edge there. Can you see it? Now this won't cover straight away for one because we're going over that counter cream. I'm not worried about that. I'm just picking up a bit more paint, working from one side of the kettle, and I'm coming across. Whatever you do, don't, if you can see, don't drag your brush back against that edge because it will start running and giving you a fatty edge on the back edge. What you want to do is actually be brushing away. So if I can just try doing it away that way, I'll do a little bit more. Coming up to a bracket there, but I'm putting it on and I'm doing it slowly to show you. I'm brushing that way. Can you see? Now when you get a bit more competent at this, a bit more expertise, you'll soon whip these in and do it really quickly. But I'm doing it slowly to show you. So that's the underside done, and you can just see, I don't know, you can see back edge, we're fine on that. Right, let's talk about the face, how I'm going to do it. I've got some more paint on my brush. I'm bringing it in, I'm going up as far as I possibly can, and I'm bringing it down, cutting into that bracket neatly, up as far as we can. Bit more paint. I've only got a small amount of paint on the brush. I'm going up as far as I can, trying to spread it out all the way at the back, as high as possible. Now, it won't matter too much if you don't get all the way up when you're working with black, on a black surface, but if you are doing a bit of a colour change, you want to make sure that the new colour is as high as possible, so if anybody's looking from down below, they don't actually see it looking different. And I'm literally just brushing it across and laying it off, and that's it. I'm coming to that corner of the bracket there, doing that, and then again I've got enough on my brush, pushing it all the way up. Now this has all been dusted off when I did the cleaning down, so don't be saying, oh, you should be dusting it off again. I only did it yesterday and a little bit today, so I shouldn't need to dust it off again. So there we are, I'm getting the brush up as high as I can, bringing it across, bringing it lower, 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 and then bringing it back to the bracket. So the bracket just gets a nib of paint on the edge, you see, and it's like that. Now I'm going to crack on and finish all the way across there. This is the first coat. The under eaves have all had two, you can see, and across there, they're all nicely drying. Can you see the sheen level on that for a satin? It's beautiful. And if I can go up, I'm coming up, zooming up. I have actually already done the under eaves two coats up there, and the face of the fascia board has one as well. So I'm going to crack on and I'll see you in a little while. Right, I'm back now. I've had a really busy day. I've been using this. Now, fascias, under eaves, I've explained how you do them. You do your under eave first and do your fascia, rubbing it all down, dusting it all off. Now, I have to say how impressed I am with this MasterDec. It is an exterior product. It is water-based. It's quick drying, and a day like today, particularly just after lunchtime, which was, quite a bit warm with the sun coming out, it was going off on me quite quickly, which was good. Now, if you're applying it, you might think it's a little bit too thick to apply, but I have to say, once that first coat had gone on and it had flowed out with drying, it didn't look particularly ropey, if that's, you know what the term ropey is, brush marky and leaving marks in the actual surface. So it does flow out. I would say to you, don't do it in bright sunshine, that you're probably going to find it's going to be drying off on you far too quickly. But I've managed to get round today, finish the under eaves off, which I'd got the first coat on yesterday. I managed to get a first coat on the black just before lunchtime, and then we're now later afternoon, and I would probably say I was recoating the black after about 3 hours, and it went on actually quite nicely. So all in all, really impressed with this. If you've not tried it and you've been somebody that's always used saddling SuperDec, I would say give this a go. It's available in Brewers, and it's a Brewers product, and I have to say it's done what I wanted it to do. I've done my fascias and under eaves, and I'm looking now, and you've probably just seen a little bit of a B-roll footage. It looks really smart. It looks really smart. So there's no sponsorship from anybody. As I said earlier, I did try a sample tin from Brewers of Nottingham a few months ago. I really liked it, and I wanted to give my, if you can just see the tin there, I wanted to give my outside a coat of this. So I have actually bought two different things. Bought my own tins of paint to do it on my outside. So this is the first section of painting an outside, the fascias and under eaves. The next section you will see, we will talk a little bit more about the Andura paint, and I will paint the front, and I'll go dun, 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 swivel the head round. I will paint the front of the house with the Andura, and we will talk through it. But for now, that's the fascias and under eaves done. The walls are going to be next, and I know some people are going to say to me, Phil, why didn't you do the walls first? Two reasons. Time for me and time allocation. I needed to get my fascias and under eaves out of the way first. And also I didn't want to do the walls and then damage the walls by moving the ladder around, because I knew I'd got quite a little bit of work to do on those fascias, rubbing them down and going round. 2 coats on the under eave, 2 coats on the fascia, and I didn't want to go back touching up. Now, if you've got a heavy stucco render, I would probably say to you, make sure you get your rendering out of the way first. Your rendering paint would go onto your under eave, and then you would cut the under eave to your render paint. I hope that makes sense. Please give us some comments below if that doesn't make sense to you. But all in all, really impressed with this, and I will see you on the next video. And please watch the videos at the end.